A lot of people ask me, how do I write in my pocket notebook? And at first, I always think it's kind of a weird question because, well, I pick up my pen and I write. But in pondering on that question a little bit more, I started thinking, do I even have like a way that I write in my notebook? Is there a method to the madness? Disorganized, chaotic, yet somehow extremely organized. I'm writing this video while I'm shooting it. This is a perfect example of the on-the-fly nature of my mind. There's sort of an indulgence to it. Indulging in the chaos. In this era of my life, I have to be organized. I have to be put together. I have to get things in order. In my notebook, however, I'm able to be completely creative. I can put anything, anywhere. Write as sloppy as I want, and it's 100% okay. Being more whimsical and more creative, that's my nature. I don't have to try to do these things. These things just happen, naturally. In the real world, I have to be upright, professional. I have to be numeric and precise. But when I have days off, today and tomorrow, this is when I can really indulge and really lock in to my creativity. So what's my method? Or how do I write in this thing? Okay, for starters, I'm an avid bullet point user. I always catch myself using bullets. Bullets I usually use for jotting ideas down. I say jotting very specifically because it's usually ideas that are more quick and more unfinished. The more I think about it, actually, the more that I realize I do have some sort of format of how I write in these notebooks. And the format goes something like this. At the top of the page, I'll have a header or a title. Usually the main idea or the subject of what I'm getting ready to write down. And below that, on the first line or two, will be the idea, written in sentence form. Generally it's about 1 to 2 sentences, sort of a small summarization of the idea at large. And below that, usually with a 1-line space, I will start with dashes or bullets. Those two are pretty interchangeable. And these contain smaller sub-ideas that are related to the main idea. These are a lot of times little extensions, little further evaluations of this idea. Most of the time what I'll do is I will start with a bullet, write out the sub-idea, and then for any additional thoughts related to that sub-idea, I will put a dash, and it will be indented. Now and again as well, I will incorporate drawings. Not that often, but every now and again, whenever it's applicable, I'll throw a little doodle in there. And the last thing within this format is there's always something else I want to add, so that usually ends up crammed into the bottom and up into the margin a little bit. Another staple of mine is the way that I separate different ideas that live on the same page. Say, for example, the top half of this page is about one idea, idea A. I typically will put in a squiggly line between idea A and the underneath, idea B, to separate the two ideas. I found that a squiggly line works better than a straight line or even a bold line because the straight line or the bold line, it blends too much into the straight lines that exist already on the paper. Whereas a squiggly line, it pops off the page a little more. It's a little more unique, it stands out. Around my fourth notebook, I began writing the page numbers in the top corner of each page. This was an adaptation made as a result of having difficulty when trying to refer to different sections or different pages of my book. And I have numbered every page ever since. Page 1 through 160. A more recent addition to the pocket notebooks has been the table of contents. A sort of filing cabinet for each book and a directory for where the ideas live within its binding. I just recently started making the table of contents actually look like a file explorer with the little manila folders, and each idea is labeled with a folder. I thought that was kind of clever. I use a very specific type of notebook as well. Not field notes or moleskin or anything like that, none of those fancy ones. But I use these. These are the Pen & Gear Mini Composition Notebooks. 3 in a pack, $1.12 per pack. Dirt cheap. For me, I don't care what type of notebook that I write in. So, that means I can get the cheapest one I can find, and I'm good. Ironically though, I got the cheapest ones because I don't care. But now, I can't see myself writing in anything else. Like, these are the notebooks, I can't use anything else. Each notebook gets laminated with packing tape to maintain its structural integrity. So in the video about my pocket notebook ritual, I go into more depth about this process. And on top of this, I always label each cover with the date I began writing in that book. And eventually, the date I filled that book up. Something new that I went through and did recently is labeling each notebook's spine. This is for identification. Same as on the cover, but this particular label makes it so easy to know which book I'm going for when I'm reaching for it on my bookshelf. This makes my pocket notebook sized bookshelf look a lot more like a library. It's pretty cool. I can't wait to fill up my 10-year supply of pocket notebooks. So, while there is somewhat of a technical method as to how I write in my notebooks, these things weren't simply adopted by doing research or seeing what others do. To me, or in my experience, these elements of my notebook writing process came more from necessity. Maybe not necessity, but from adaptation. I like to consider my pocket notebooks an extension or an externalization of my brain. The ideas make their way to the paper as I see them in my brain. The notebook is my physical self, doing its best to interpret what's going on the inside, in my brain, in my conscience. The pocket notebooks I write in, the pages I fill, contain what I like to describe as organized chaos. It's all over the place, but to me, it makes perfect sense. That's how my brain is, and that's how my creative outlets are. Even when my brain or my writing or my space is a little bit chaotic, somehow, to me, it's all nice and organized. All of these writings are mine. Exactly where they are, how they are, and exactly the way they're supposed to be.